More EVs means more CO2 emissions? Hang on, surely there's something wrong with that sentence. It's precisely the opposite of that which was intended. And this is of course what happens when you let the government tell you what car you should drive. The whole point of moving to EVs was supposed to reduce carbon emissions, by which they mean emissions of that harmless gas carbon dioxide, otherwise known as plant food, to help somehow miraculously freeze the climate in its present state and stop any further changes. Yeah, changes to a climate which has been changing for the past 4.5 billion years. And good luck stopping the climate changing when the next ice age arrives, by the way. But as a recent scientific paper has discovered, without reliable emissions-free generation, forcing a fleet of EVs on an unwilling public actually causes emissions to go up. And that reliable emissions-free generation, by the way, isn't unicorn farts and sunbeams generated by bird choppers and cheap Chinese solar panels. It's baseload nuclear generation, which the current government here in Australia has rejected out of hand. Why? Well, because they'll need the support of the mad commies in the Green Party to have any chance of still holding on to power after the election here in May. So to all you smug liberals out there driving your EVs, just think, if you believe your own climate alarmist nonsense, you're actually making the problem worse. Welcome back to MGUY, British engineer and lawyer, now Sydney-based YouTuber. If you want to help this channel educate as many people as possible about the insanity of EVs and net zero, click that subscribe button down below. Doesn't cost anything. And if you click the bell to enable all notifications as well, you won't miss out on any future videos. And if you'd like to support this channel, why not buy me a coffee? Click the link at the description or scan the QR code on screen. All of this makes perfect sense, unfortunately. When you drive an EV, you're just shifting the emissions from the exhaust pipe back to the power station. And if that power station is burning a fossil fuel, then you'll still be adding carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Plus, you'll be adding plenty more from the heavy mining equipment needed to dig up thousands of tons of rock and earth for the minerals and metals in the battery as well. But that's a whole other story. This study from the University of Auckland is reported in the Kiwi website Stuff. New study finds global EV adoption has failed to cut CO2. A new study from the University of Auckland and Xiamen University in China has found there is little point in buying an electric vehicle if you're charging it with electricity generated by fossil fuels. In fact, when it comes to carbon dioxide emissions, your EV may be doing more harm than good. Oh dear, how sad, never mind.
Oh dear, how sad, never mind.
The research published in the scientific journal Energy analysed the environmental impacts of human activity. Researchers then used a robust statistical approach to investigate what drives a nation's carbon dioxide CO2 emissions. It found that EV uptake was linked to increased CO2 emissions if the energy used to charge the vehicles was generated through burning fossil fuels like oil or coal, which negated the overall reduction of electricity powering the vehicles. Associate Professor Stephen Pelletti and Simon Tao, a doctoral candidate at the Business School's Energy Centre, didn't observe a significant reduction in CO2 emissions globally due to EV adoption. On the contrary, EV adoption is positively associated with CO2 emissions, says Tao. This finding appears counterintuitive. It challenges the conventional belief that EVs contribute to decarbonisation. Our analysis highlights that the environmental benefits of EVs are contingent on the composition of a country's electricity generation mix. Take EVs charged using electricity from coal-fired power plants, says Pelletti. In that case, they may indirectly contribute to higher emissions than modern gasoline or diesel vehicles, especially considering the entire life cycle from production to disposal. Did you catch that last bit? Especially considering the entire life cycle from production to disposal? The government sees the easy option of forcing people to drive EVs and pushes that for all it's worth, because to them it gives the impression of doing things, and they can do photo opportunities in front of shiny EVs. But as usual, they're putting the cart before the horse. If they insist on reducing emissions of carbon dioxide, it should have started with the electricity grid before forcing people into EVs that A, people don't want, and B, make the problem worse. And I'm sure you won't have missed the irony in pushing up demand for reliable electricity at exactly the same time as demolishing the only reliable means of generation of that electricity, without any concern for a suitable replacement, and thinking that the grid, which now has to support a fleet of EVs and charging stations, as well as all other growing demands such as AI data centres, can somehow be magically powered by the weather. This is really a new form of insanity.